So today's webinar topic is Rapise 7.4 new features and enhancements. I am still Alexei. I am Rapise developer, and me and Dennis are those who present this webinar for Rapise for last several years. So you will meet Dennis a bit later in this presentation when we reach the topic that he is going to demonstrate you. So first is the list of enhancements in Rapise. There are plenty of them, and you may find them here by following this link. You may also find it by going to Rapise doc website, where we have release notes section. And for each version, we have a corresponding section. So most current is Rapise 7.4. So major improvements in Rapise 7.4. First is a AgGrid support. Then we have major update of the recording functionality for Java and managed targets. And now Rapise supports recording of 64-bit. We will show that. Next is a number of improvements in Spira dashboard that you will also see later today. So everything here is described here, and links to corresponding documentation topics are available if you click on them in this release note. So first part, so we will go through all these described topics one by one. And the first section is so-called mixed mode recording in Rapise that I'm going to demonstrate right now. So what does it mean? Here we have Rapise on the screen, and this Rapise has only web library. This task has only web library enabled for it. So this happens when you create new web test and try recording. So if I hit record with this kind of test, okay, this PDF viewer were not planned. If I hit record with this kind of test, let me pause and close all the redundant screens and show what I'm going to record. I will have a number of windows that which are different applications, and I want my test to deal with all these applications. So it's mixed mode recording, as we call it. So it's a Java 32-bit application. It's another Java 64-bit application. It's marked here. It's some, let me resume recording to see how it gets recorded by default. So it's Java 32-bit, and you see that it doesn't recognize individual item. I can click here, but no good result here. It's Java 64-bit, again, not invisible because we have just default web recorder enabled right now. It's 64-bit managed application, .NET application. So I may click somewhere and it recognizes objects to some extent, but they are all recognized as UIA objects, as you see. So it's very generic level of understanding of the application. And also managed 32-bit applications. So there are a number of different applications. And of course, web application, which is recognized by attached web library. So this application is okay right now because this library is attached. What I don't want this recording. You should notice that how it records Java actions, for example. You see, it's very generic. It doesn't understand where I just clicked, for example, in this tree. And let me change something to demonstrate how Rapise may record in such cases. So I may go to Tools, Libraries, and choose more libraries here. So we have cross-browser already selected. I want my test to also record UIAutomation. I want my test to record managed, which is .NET application, these two. I want my test to record Java, which is these two applications. So I've just selected those targets, and those libraries were attached. And now, if I hit record, I will see how it gets recognized by the application. So I click on the tree, and you see it recognizes that I click in the tree on the colors section. I click here on sports, and it recognizes that I click on sports here. I click here on the button, and the button is recognized as managed button. There is interesting use case here. We have WPF section within managed. So it's mixed mode mashup as we usually have it. So you may see how it gets recognized. So if usually if we have managed recording and we have something embedded within this managed recording, we are in trouble because it gets confused. But right now it's able to recognize, so it understands that this is UIA object, while the surrounding application is actually a managed application. So it may recognize this internal object, it may recognize this external application. This one is 64-bit, this one is 32-bit, and you see my actions get recorded properly, because Rapise is choosing right library to capture the actions that I'm doing right now on the screen. So this is one major change in Rapise that we just covered in this section of the webinar. And now let's proceed to other topics here. So let me finish recording, and let me show the presentation. So I'm going to pass word to Dennis, my colleague, who is going to proceed from the AgGrid support in Rapise. Dennis?
Yeah, thank you, Alexei, for great presentation about the new mixed mode recording. So I'm going to share my screen as well. So here we go. The next feature that I'm going to talk is AgGrid recording and playback support in Rapise. AgGrid is one of thousands of grids that are available for web applications, and it is one of the most widely used grids. And we had many requests from our customers that they need support for this control. And we added support for AgGrid in Rapise 7.4. So let's first take a look how you may determine that you are using AgGrid in your application. So of course, you may ask developers, or you may simply open your application. So I will open the sample AgGrid, which is available on the web, and I'm going to Developer Tools, to Elements section, and I will search for div element that has class attribute that includes AgRoot class. And if you can find such an element in your application, then very likely that you are using AgGrid. So definitely, in my case, I have AgGrid on the page. So let's see what Rapise can do with the AgGrid. So to demonstrate that, I am going to create a new test. So I will create it locally. Demo Rapise 7.4. I am creating a web test. I will use Selenium Chrome for recording. Clicking OK, and I have my empty test. And let's start from the AgGrid sample application first. So I start recording. And if you're using Selenium Chrome, which is now the recommended and the default option when you create a new web test. So if new browser is started, then you are prompted to enter the initial URL. I will go to AgGrid.com example page. So this is the AgGrid control loaded. So I am going to click somewhere on a cell within this control. So I will click on Spanish in language column on the third line. Okay, so you can see here that Rapise did not recognize AgGrid. So it recognized my click as a click just on something with the text Spanish. It means that we need to enable AgGrid support in our test. So I will cancel recording and I will close the browser. And let's take a look what we have in our main.js file. So far, we have just web library loaded. To enable AgGrid support for a test, go to Tools and Libraries. And you will see the list of libraries that we have in Rapise. To have support for AgGrid in your test, just select this option. Here we go, DOM AgGrid. This is the library that adds support for AgGrid in your test. So I selected it, click Select. And if we will now take a look at the main.js file, here is AgGrid library. So I will start recording again. And this time we should get better results. Navigate into the page. Okay, accepting cookies. And again, I'm clicking on Spanish in language and third line. And now you may see that the bigger area was highlighted, whole grid was highlighted, and my action was grid click cell and some information about my click. So the text in the cell, Spanish, and the name of the column, language. So let's finish recording at this point and append our steps to the test. So now we may find this grid object in the object tree. Here we go. If we will take a look here in the left bottom corner at the properties of the selected element, we can see that the library is AgGrid and the type of the object is AgGrid. If I will expand this node here, I will see all the properties that I can read from AgGrid control in the application and all the actions that I can perform on this object. So what we can do for AgGrid, we can get the column count, we can get the row count, we can get some information about selected rows, and most important, we can click on a cell, we can perform scrolling, we can do filtering of data for some columns, so I will show it later. And to get additional information about any action, you may simply select it here in the tree and press F1 on the keyboard, and you will be navigated to online help, and here is the information about the action. So for example, do filter by column. It will enter value into filter field that may be available for under the column title, and thus it will filter the data in the grid. So closing it. So let's play this step to make sure it works. Oh, it should click on the Spanish. Oh, yeah. Okay. So this example of AgGrid, this is the normal element inside the light DOM. Sometimes AgGrids can be embedded into shadow DOM components. For example, if you have a Polymer application, and it can also contain AgGrid. So AgGrid can be part of shadow DOM. And this case is also supported by Rapise, and I will demonstrate that. So let's create one more sheet here for Polymer example of AgGrid. And I will start recording again. And I will record with different initial URL. I have such an application that has AgGrid inside a Polymer page. So it is hosted locally on this machine. So I guess this is it. Okay, here we go. Let's now also click somewhere on the grid. So do you see this red box, pink box? So it means that the grid is a part of shadow DOM. Unfortunately, in this case, we are not able to record the click on a cell. And you may see here that Rapise recorded just a click on a grid. But though recording is limited, the playback is still valid. So I will finish recording and I will update my test a bit. So I will replace do click with do click cell. And let's see where we want to click. So let's deselect this. Let's click on line number line number 2 into model column. So line number 2, it is row is 0 based, so line number 2 is 1. And here is the model. And if I will play it, it should click on Mandel, I think. Yeah, so we can see that the cell with the Mandel is active, and the click selected the line. And here you can see that we have filter. So let's also see how we can do filtering for AgGrid. So I will add the step that performs filtering. Do filter by column. Column name is model, and let's filter by model. Okay, let's play this part. Okay, works. There are some limitations with the AgGrid support. The most difficult part when you're testing AgGrid is that if column is not visible, that it may not be available in the DOM tree. So we know nothing about such a column which is not visible. And sometimes to click in the correct column or reach a correct row, you will need to do scrolling. And for this purpose, Rapise has two very powerful scrolling methods. So first is do scroll to. Do scroll to can scroll to a specific row or to a column with specific name. It can do scrolling left, right, up, down. It can do rewind of the grid to the top left cell before doing any scrolling. It can do scrolling using arrows or using scroll bars. So depending on your flavor of AgGrid, so you may need to tweak this method to do correct scrolling for your application. Also, there is do scroll by, which is simply scrolling by a certain number of ticks in the direction that you need. So right, left, up, and down. So this is the basic information about AgGrid support. You can get more information in API docs. And also, I believe that we have an article about AgGrid. AgGrid. And it should be Rapise as well here. Okay, here we go. Here is the information about AgGrid support, what it is. And also here you may find everything that I just described to you during this demo. So this is the link to this page. Okay, I think this is enough for AgGrid, and let's now talk about changes that we have in Spira dashboard navigation. So basically, there are two main changes. The first one is about what happens when you click on ID links within Spira dashboard. And another one is how you open the corresponding Spira item inside Spira itself. So let's dive into that. Switching back to Rapise and switching to Spira dashboard. For example, let's now go to test cases or maybe test sets. So here is almost every page in Spira dashboard has a column with ID. And in previous versions of Rapise 7.3, 2.1, when you clicked on this link, it opened a browser window with the corresponding item. So we found that it is confusing for people and decided to change the navigation mode. So now, if you click on this link, for example, I'm clicking on ID of all browsers test set, it just expands the details. So we can see, so in previous versions of Rapise, there was a plus icon that you should use, you had to use to expand the item. So now you don't need it. You may click anywhere, you may click on an icon, you may click on the ID, and you may click here, and your click will expand the corresponding item here. Oh. Okay, it was demo effect. And let's see what we have on other pages. Here we go. So expanding the test case, and here I can see all the latest test runs for such a test case. Okay, what if you want to open the item inside Spira? So in the action column, we now have open in Spira menu item. So if you click on it, it will navigate to Spira and will open the item for you inside Spira. So if there are some things that you need to do with this item is not available in Spira dashboard, you can always open it in the browser and do what you need. So this is the change with the navigation. And also another big feature that we added in Spira dashboard, so maybe not so big, but important, this is the ability to do test scheduling right in Spira dashboard. So you don't need to go into Spira, open it in the browser to schedule your test set. So let's see how it works. So go into test sets, open in action, and here is schedule menu item. So I'm clicking on it. And here is the model dialog where I can specify on which automation host I want to run my test set. I may specify recurrence pattern one time. So this is exactly the same settings that you may find in Spira itself. Also, you may specify the date and time when you want to execute. So for example, if I want to run my test set one time on Darwin host tomorrow, I'm clicking on November 23, and also I may click, so it should be executed, for example, at 1 p.m. and 1:25 p.m. So now I selected everything and I may press save. And here I can see the new schedule. The time that you see here, this is the time of the host where you do scheduling. So this is actually your local time. And if you are in a region that does not work with AM, PM, you won't see this in your here in the calendar. So it supports locale, and if you have locale, for example, with 24 hours, then you won't see this AM, PM things. So this is test scheduling that you can do inside Rapise. So I think we covered all the major changes in Rapise 7.4. Again, for the full list of changes, you can go to rapise.conflector.com, release notes section, and here you may find all the changes, including a new object API that was added, improvements, bug fixes, and a lot of items here are interactive and contain links. So if you want to get more information, for example, about AgGrid, then you can click on it and navigate and find the information that you need. So thanks everyone for attending this webinar on Rapise 7.4. We wish you great results achieved with Rapise in your test automation projects, and see you in next webinars. Bye-bye.